Hello everybody and welcome to the extras of the Sonic and the Black Knight playthrough. It's time to begin what's going to be quite a lot of parts of doing quite a lot of optional missions. Because as soon as you have beaten the Dark Queen, lots and lots and lots of stuff opens up for you. And so we are going to go and play every single mission. And I am serious in that. Now, the way that this all works is that you complete a mission, new missions open up, and that is basically the way that you've got to follow through. There is one mission in this opening selection that I am not going to deal with right until the very end, and that is because it is technically the hardest challenge that you will face in Sonic and the Black Knight. And I will keep it as a surprise until that point. Now, a lot of these missions can be slightly frustrating. This one, for instance, is a die-hard challenge from what I recall. I wasn't paying too much attention to the opening titles of it, so brain just died. The way that you're going to get through this is by making use of the guard button. Because if you guard, you aren't going to get hit and damaged, therefore you're going to be able to progress. This was a very odd mission for me because my brain goes, jump! And no, you can't physically jump in this section. It's just turn, slash, or guard. And yeah, it's a bit of a finicky one. But if there's anything that I will say I'm quite happy with Black Knight for, is that you get to this point and there's a reasonable variety of missions available to you. Some of them are better than others. I'd say this one's ever so slightly on the more dull side because, you know, it's basically an auto-scroller. But at least it's somewhat different to the other die-hard challenges that you'll be facing. I will take 4 stars. I was hoping for 5, considering, you know, I got through that almost flawlessly, but oh well. And we've gone up in title, so we're now a fearless fighter, which I think is quite accurate, considering you have to be fearless to get through that sort of stuff. Now, the way that this entire selection of extras is working is that each part is roughly going to have about 10 to 15 missions in it, because otherwise we'd just be here for hours going through all these things. So I had to find a way of splitting them up as neatly as possible. Now, this mission is a little bit odd. So you've got a load of hidden fairies that you have got to go hunting after. I believe that there is one behind you at the beginning. I can't remember whether I'm actually going to spot it. Oh, good, I am. There it is. Like, that's just really mean. But that one doesn't unlock until you go over the red circle thing that you saw there, and that's basically how you're going to find out where these hidden fairies are. I'm pretty sure that there are more than 7 fairies in this mission. So don't worry if you don't find them all, but I'm certain that if you find them all, then that probably is going to give you a greater chance of getting the 5-star rank. But yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of running about here. And by running about, I mean climbing, because obviously it's slightly difficult to make half of these climbs. I believe you might actually be better off playing this mission as Blaze, because Blaze has the ability to run on the walls, rather than having to, you know, painstakingly jump your way across. It's a bit of a pain, but I mean, I'm going to be doing all of these missions as Sonic just because it makes the most sense to me and I'm more comfortable in using Sonic in the grand scheme of things. He's just a much nicer character to play than any of the others. And that was what was going to give me the greatest chance of succeeding at all of these missions, because certainly when I played Black Knight for the first time and when I recorded it the last time, I did not tackle all of these missions. So a lot of this was brand new for me. Now, this mission. This is a bugger and a half. So, the way of getting through it is you need to go on certain geysers to get certain enemies to appear in order for you to destroy the blocks that you see in front of you, because they obviously only change depending on defeating enemies. The frustration is that they will throw you very far backwards half the time. So, you just end up going in, like, circles and looping constantly. I had to do, like, restart this mission a few times because it was just like, for God's sake! Sonic, just stay in one position, stop being flung back all the way to the beginning, you absolute sod. I mean, look at that! I think to get through the entirety of it, you have to kill all of the thunder fly thingies. Or it might just be the first two and then this last batch of enemies. It's not hugely clear, but you've just got to try and, once you've gotten the 2 blocks down, well, the 2 block walls, it's just a case of get to the end of the level by avoiding the geysers. It's a weird one. It's a very, very, very weird one. But somehow that was a 5-star rank, so I will happily accept. Now, what we are essentially working towards, or what I was hoping to work towards, was unlocking all of these things called legacy missions, which are optional missions which play very much in the style of classic Sonic. And they're really awesome sequences, and when I actually get to them I will be making use of the Medal of Sonic. But I don't think at present we actually have the Medal of Sonic, because it is only collectible in one of the initial legacy missions. I think. Not 100% sure on that fact, but something along those lines states that somewhere. But because of the purely random nature of the level unlocks, because you complete one mission, it will unlock a random one somewhere around the world, I didn't quite have the opportunity, shall we say, to cover all of these missions in a neat fashion, because what I would have liked to have done was complete each level, so to speak, in one fell swoop. So, for example, beat the entirety of the Cauldron in one fell swoop, defeat the entirety of Misty Lake in one fell swoop, and so on. But it's simply not possible. So you're just going to get a whole batch of rather random missions flung together, because that's the way that they unlock, which is kinda mean if you ask me. And it's probably the greatest flaw of post-game Sonic and the Black Knight, because it doesn't allow you to play as neatly as you perhaps otherwise would have liked to. Like, it's got an excellent variety of missions, although they are all reasonably short. and you do have a lot of options. It's just that it would have been nice for, you know, all of the missions to just unlock at once, and then you would have had entire freedom to do whatever the hell you liked. Maybe do a situation where you beat all the standard missions within the level, and then the legacy mission unlocked, or you left all of the missions and then, well, let me start over on that one. So, with the particularly difficult mission, which I'm leaving as far to the end as I physically can, they could have had that as a super special mission for beating all of the other missions, therefore giving some purpose to the unlock process. As it stands, you don't really get much of that. Now, this mission is reasonably okay. I think I did end up restarting it numerous times because I kept messing up on my kicks. Because, as I mentioned the last time we came up against the Will-o'-the-Wisps, to beat them you need to Soul Surge and then shake the nunchuck for Sonic to kick them, because apparently that is okay. You can't run into them or hit them with your sword, but you can kick them, and that is fine. I mean, half the reason why I kept redoing this mission is because I kept getting hit quite a lot, and it was rather frustrating, because I was like, this is not a nice, clean run. That wasn't exactly clean, but it was certainly the best one that I got, and 3 stars, I'll live. It's the awkward thing about the ranking system in this game is that it's never quite clear of how it wants you to complete missions, because sometimes it's get through it quickly with a mixture of defeating lots of enemies and so on and so forth. So it's just a bit awkward at the end of the day. And I wish that it was a little bit clearer, at least with things like, I'm pretty sure Unleashed's primary thing with beating levels was time. That tended to be the greatest key for getting high ranks and levels. And also, you know, not dying, because if you don't die, then you get to keep your rings, and generally you collect quite a lot of rings to sustain your boost. And Generations was pretty much in the same ballpark for that. So they got better. And then, obviously, you get to Lost World, and they just decide to completely remove ranks altogether, which ends up making the levels feel really pointless. I mean, obviously, that's in addition to the fact of Lost World's just not particularly fun to beat, for various reasons. If there's one Sonic game that I don't think I will ever actively decide, yes, I want to cover this game, it's probably going to be Lost World. Because it's just frustrating at the end of the day. And even with the patch that they instigated to give, like, health, well, not health, lives if you get 50 rings and so on, because that wasn't originally in the game for whatever reason. Even though they introduced that, it still didn't make the entire experience all that exciting. But, oh well. Now, this mission's surprisingly easy to actually beat. The reason that I think I redid this mission was because it was really, really poorly done in my first recording. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm talking like 1-2 star rank. Obviously that's only a 3-star rank, but like I just kept getting hit, and oh, it was an absolute mess of a recording. So that one I couldn't allow to remain. Now don't worry, I will try and cover some other elements of the game and Arthurian literature, maybe even a little bit of medieval literature lessons, because we've got a lot of these, well, quite a few of these parts to get through, and they are essentially going to be very similar in their build-up, well, in their makeup, of just going from mission to mission to mission to mission to mission to mission to mission. Obviously we're going to have some slightly more interesting things occurring when we get to the legacy missions, and also the super optional hard boss that is available to you. But we're not going to deal with that until we deal with it. Now, I was quite surprised that it was so easy to find all of these pillars. I'm not quite sure why they were so easy, but I will take that, considering some of the other missions are a little bit more obnoxious.
Just made it.
But I'm quite annoyed that there was only a 3-star, because I thought, oh, I've done quite well. Evidently not well enough. Probably a running trend with this Black Knight run is like, it was an alright run, but it wasn't like as excellent as it could have been. It's certainly better than anything that I did the last time, because that was just not good. Now this mission is rather bizarre, because this is actually our first introduction of rings being rings. Because in pretty much every other mission, rings have been fairies. Which makes sense in this world, but now we're getting into the more Sonic-y missions of collecting all the rings, and it's quite fun seeing rings. Part of me does wonder whether it would have been quite nice to have a more normal Sonic title with these sort of mechanics. I mean, it does make you wonder what would have happened had they gone with, well, if they'd done Sonic in the Black Knight without the sword controls. Obviously it would have been rather odd, because you're in medieval England, essentially, and that's all to do with knights and chivalry and all sorts, so a giant talking blue hedgehog that runs really quickly is going to not fit in quite so nicely. So giving him a sword allows you to bridge the gap, sort of. But it would have been interesting to see what they would have done had they gone the more Secret Rings route of just having Sonic run about and maybe have some sort of special ability. But that said, I'm very happy with the game that we got. Obviously, not everybody is quite so enamoured with it, but I think it's wonderful, so that is all that matters. A little bit egotistical there, but oh well. Now that mission, for as short as it is and as simple as it can look, is rather finicky, because to keep the chain going, you've got to do it in a very specific time frame. You've got the little bar on the side which tells you how long you have left, but then it's getting the timing down on the mushrooms and not running into things that you don't mean to run into that fling you out of the way. It's a little bit complicated, but it's an interesting idea for a level, and I'm quite glad that they did go through with it. For what it's worth, there are a lot of decent level ideas throughout these missions. They're not perfect, and they certainly could have been executed more successfully, I think. But on the whole, each mission is very unique. So you've got a lot to master, really. It's not, well, this is exactly the same as the thing that I've just done. It's like we've had Rampage defeat X amount of enemies before, but we've not had beat enemies on this moving lava flow. And I don't think you get a Rampage mission in this vein ever again. So the fact that they... well, I find it quite impressive that they were able to find such a variety of ways of using their mission types within the levels. Because a lot of game developers, I think, would probably just go with the easy route of making them all nigh on identical, just with a different coat of paint. These actually have a unique element to them, and that is something that I think should be applauded. And obviously, considering a lot of reviewers didn't ever, get to this point, or didn't bother to go through all of these missions, it's quite easy to see how it got overlooked. And to be honest, most people will never play these missions because they'll just do the story and then that'll be that. Heck, I was one of those people. I just did the story and never went into any of these missions at all. So I really didn't get a whole lot of bang from the book, really. I have now, considering the whole playthrough'd it twice and played it normally once. So... certainly got my bang from the book now, but I hadn't at the time. And actually going through all of these missions has made me appreciate the game quite a bit more. Like, you can criticise it for being short, but it's a game that very much relies on you putting the effort in to explore all of its content, rather than presenting it to you immediately. Also, it's trying to give you a reason to play after the credits are rolling. Rolled. How the hell I decided to come up with rolling as a word is beyond me. It's quite a nice word, actually, but it's certainly not one that's in the dictionary from what I can remember. Although now my brain tells me I need to check, and apparently rolling is something that sort of exists. Which I find absolutely baffling. According to some random thing on the internet, it means to change orientation or direction. Like, move by turning or over or rotating. Which I'm just like, what? The internet is weird, as are words and the English language. Like, I'm quite fond of coming up with words, and to be honest, if you look at... how shall I put it? I mean, if you look at medieval literature, they made up words all the time. They made up spellings. Like, there's not always a whole lot of consistency in the way things are spelt. Because... I mean, particularly as you progress, because certain letters fall out of use. I mean... like, when Yoch falls out of use, it's a bit weird. Because Yoch was like a GH. So you got things like Wicked, which then became White, which is like a monster or creature sort of thing. And it's also why you got like Nictor, because Nictor, night, and it's all through the changing of letters and spellings and words, and it's all very complicated. Now, I think you may have just seen me redo a mission, like, accidentally not editing, but those total rampage missions where you defeat as many enemies in the time limit without dying are quite fun. A little bit of a pain, but still quite fun. Now, I believe that the way you have to get, well, at least you can get quite a few of these, is making use of those blocks. I mean, the way that you're definitely going to get through this mission is hitting those springs. Otherwise, you are so going to miss a lot of these hidden fairies, because the timer on them will run out after a while. And that can be rather infuriating. I had more than a few false starts on this mission, but either way, that is the first part of these extras done. I'll see you next time for even more optional missions.